Hello, everyone. My name is Tina from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. I'm a Beyond Quantum Healing practitioner, spirit releasement therapist, intuitive empath, and remote spirit release practitioner. You want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. It's me, Karen. I'm intuitive starseed energetic healer, EQH practitioner, channel medium, and remote spirit release practitioner. Welcome. It's been a while,
It has
a
been a
long
while.
while.
Yeah. Well, I haven't really had the bandwidth to do videos lately. Like, it's been taking me just all my energy just to do our work. And
Which we're so grateful for because we had a beautiful influx of people coming in. So just opening up the streams of receiving and being of service to others. So which has been really nice, a change of pace. But yeah, we're just trying to find our balance in like how we can have our work and then come and join you guys because it's been a while.
yeah, and that's what we're not doing a live, because when we do lives, it's a lot of energy to hold. And we just did a live earlier with the Quantum Healers webinar,
Mm-hmm.
um, which
Yeah,
was um, which was
a
really
lot,
nice. Huh?
a lot.
It was a lot.
It
Yeah,
was a
I mean,
lot.
there were over 100 people there, and yeah, so it was a lot of energy to hold. Um, yeah. So here
Yeah,
we are.
here we are. How can we start? I feel, well, Tina and I have been really called to come into our space. We feel very comfortable in our space because then at least like when we're with each other and each other's presence, we can be real, authentic, and allow those channels to open up. Um, because we feel like we're in a time and space right now where we aren't really getting down to the nitty gritty of things. I feel like we feel that there's like a lot of band-aids being placed, and we're just kind of walking on these weak band-aids when now it's time that we have to remove these band-aids and go into the wound itself and see what's in there. So all that to say is that we're kind of like in a place where we're sick of it, like sick of it in a sense that it's just like we need to get down to it. And people, we don't feel are educated enough to understand um what we want to talk about. What we ultimately want to talk about is what do we want to talk about? We want to talk about the hard things, the things that are being censored, the things that people are scared to talk about, or they don't feel educated enough to talk about, the things that they don't understand. We want to talk about the demons. We want to talk about the darkness, the stuff where people are not in their own power. What's preventing them from being sovereign? What's preventing them from having their own free will? Um, Everything at this time, as if you haven't noticed already, we are in a huge war. And so we have to look at who we're fighting. What are we fighting exactly? And if you don't know what you're fighting and you're just going to say like, well, I'm just going to hold my high vibration, you're not going to help anything because you're not looking at what we're fighting. You're not looking at what we need to illuminate. We're just going to blindly like look in one direction and go in that way when everything is happening in the background. We are getting attacked from behind. They're attacking us
Right.
from all angles, and it's like you have to be able to catch that. And if you don't even know your own energy, if you don't even know how uh what it feels like just to be yourself, then you have no idea what's attached to you or what could be working through you. And yeah, it in the work that we do in remote spirit release, we have seen a lot of infringements, very subtle infringements. They could be just as much as like increasing like your thought forms, increasing um your emotional feel, like the baggage, because like we're so scared to feel our emotional baggages. Like this is everybody, right? It's scary because all of our traumas and whatnot. But then they're working through that so that it becomes so overwhelming that you can't even deal with it, and they just increase that. But then it's like I don't know, like I feel like it's just so much information in like how to tackle this whole picture, because it's like people don't realize that almost everybody is not sovereign. Like let's just put that out there. I may not be sovereign right now. Like I don't know that because I haven't checked myself yet. But like it's so subtle, and we're all vulnerable. This is the thing. If you're vulnerable and you get blindsided, yes, you leave yourself open to being attached, like getting an attachment, getting something in your field, getting something that's just gonna fuck with you through your sleep, in your waking state, through your partner, through your children, through your job. It's going to work through everything. And it's like you have to understand how sneaky they are. And the reason why, like, I'm cool, like, if I have an attachment right now, why it's cool, it's because I could recognize it. I could say, like, okay, I might have an entity that's talking or that's trying to latch onto me, but then it's my responsibility to clear it. It's my responsibility to recognize it, then illuminate my light. But I'm not going to be like, I'm illuminating the light out of fear. I'm illuminating it because that is truly who I am, and that I'm not afraid of this demon in my face.
Right.
Like we
Well,
can't be in fear anymore.
well, this is the thing. It's the fear that prevents anyone from really looking and talking about these things. Even people that are aware of entities and the darkness and how it works are afraid to talk about it because they don't want to scare other people,
Yeah,
right?
right. Which
But
I get,
this
but
is what we need to heal. Like we need to heal our fear of it and recognize how powerful we are.
absolutely.
The light is so much more powerful than the darkness. The darkness, in organic or inorganic, only has any power at all when it's hiding in the shadows. It
Right.
only has any control over us at all when it's hiding in the shadows, when we don't recognize it.
Yeah.
That's when it has control.
Mm-hmm.
So, our goal is to bring awareness, not out of fear, but out of love and respect for ourselves, our own energy systems, our these beautiful vessels that God has given us to have this experience. And when we're not honoring and respecting ourselves, when we're just, walking through life with an open field, allowing whatever to come in and attach.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about this from the angle of respect and honor yourself and your own energy. Start to begin to understand it
Yes.
and have somewhat of an awareness of what is happening in our outside world. Do we create our own realities? Yes, absolutely, of course. But we also live in a collective reality that has already been created by zillions of thought forms. So everything
Yes.
that we're seeing happening now is all a creation. Even the demons are a creation from humans and our
Mm-hmm.
thoughts. So, and all the power structures and control, all of that is our creation. So,
Mm-hmm.
I want to begin this by saying, like, it's taken us a couple years to go through this journey and understand this, right?
Yes.
We
Absolutely.
didn't just wake
No.
up with this understanding.
No. Trust
Um,
me, there's a process to it. A really hard, like, I mean, it really depends on who you are and what your background is. Tina and I have Catholic backgrounds, so we had to work through that program, you know? So go ahead.
and so what is the Catholic program?
Well, that we're terrified of the devil. We're terrified we're beneath, or you're a sinner, and so you have to do everything good, and if you're bad, you're going to go to hell. So there's a lot of fear around it, like, and shame and guilt, and all that shit that's just surrounding that. So yeah, like when we did remote spirit release, I felt a resistance in myself when Tina was like, we got to go there, and I was like, really? Okay. I'm going to go with it. But I felt a huge resistance in me because I was terrified. Because all I have is my grandmother's voice in my head saying that you're gonna go to hell and you're a bad kid, you know? And yeah, the devil, you can't face the devil. Like, who the hell are you to face the devil? So, and then when I met my first demon, that was scary. That was really scary. But like, and then when you see who is on your side. Like, we have amazing teams that are working with us in this work. We have, you know, the big guns. Like, we have Jesus and Mary Magdalene. We work with Archangel Michael. We work with Mother Mary. Dolores Cannon holds space. Like, there's all of these people or these beings that are on our side.
And
And
everybody
when they
has
are,
a team,
yes, yes, exactly. Everybody has a team. You can call on to these people all the time. And it's just like they are there. And when they help me to look the demon in the eyes and put it away or bring it to sanctuary or whatever, yes, it's empowering, because it's like they try everything to dim your light. But then there's a motivation inside, the God light inside of you, that is just like, no, I am much more stronger than you. You cannot live without my light. And so when you illuminate that light and give it love, actually, they fucking hate love. Give it love. And they have a choice to make. You come back to God, or you go where you go to jail.
Go to jail.
Go to soul, like, yeah, go to dark jail, like, whatever. Love jail. Make a choice.
Well, yeah, exactly. So understanding that we live in a world of duality. Okay. Yes. Are we rising up out of that? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. Like, if you look
No.
around, we're not there yet.
No.
We are just beginning to even understand what duality is.
Right. Sorry, I don't mean to interject, but I'm just saying, yeah, we are so not there yet, because if people are still in fear of even just looking in the shadows, like, do you think we're going to get there anytime soon by bypassing all of the shadow work? No. We have to actually turn around and face it, not just go one way. We have to look at it. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And so as Jesus explained in my other article and video that we made months ago, about duality, that duality exists as a creation of God. Both light and darkness are a creation of the one. And in a third density experience of duality, we come in here to experience what it is like to be separated from God, to experience that separation, and then to find our way back to our divinity through this experience of forgetfulness and the separation, like this really huge separation with God, source, the creator, whatever you want to call it. And so duality provides that contrast. Now, when you think about it on a deeper level, so the dark ones in spirit, the dark force entities, they're living this miserable existence because they're even farther from source than we are. Right? They're all the way over on the opposite end.
Right.
And they still do have a teeny tiny little spark of source light within them. They do. And in the work of spirit release therapy through hypnosis, we can talk to them and work with them in order to find that light, spread it out, and then to positively polarize.
Yes.
However, in our work with remote spirit release, we leave it up to our guides to decide how to handle these entities and what needs to happen to them. So they go on their path, and the higher beings deal with them in whatever way they know is appropriate. But this is to say that even though they're dark, they're demons or dark force entities, whatever you want to call them, they still do have a tiny spark of source light. Now, that is in the organic original matrix that the earth was birthed into in 5D. There's still darkness in 5D. It's just not as pronounced. What has happened was that our universe was invaded by non-source entities. So entities that have come from another universe that aren't of our source. They're inorganic entities, for example, AI, and
Hmm.
what people would call archons. And these entities do not have a spark of source light within them. They are not from our source. They are inorganic. And as Jesus called them, he said, they are soulless. They are, I forget exactly his words, but basically they are soulless beings and they
You
do
have an
not,
article about that, right?
yeah,
Okay, so I'll link it down below.
yeah.
I write
That would
that
be
down.
really good for anyone looking to understand the difference between the organic matrix and the inorganic matrix. And I'm going to write more articles now too. So they have created this inorganic matrix around the earth, on the earth. They have overtaken the original organic matrix and made it inorganic, meaning
Yes.
that there's a lot of influence by archons and AI on this planet. Um, and yeah, so I want to tell you also like a little bit about my very first hypnosis session, which I've never talked about before today. And I talked about it in the webinar earlier, but I didn't get to share like everything I wanted to talk about, um, because we had to kind of censor a little
Condense.
bit for the people there that weren't ready to hear the information. Now, I'm assuming you're ready to be here if you're watching this video. um, so if you're not ready to hear really hard things, then I suggest that, you know, you turn this off and find something that feels good to you. Like I said earlier, you know, I don't ask anyone to believe anything I have to say. But I do feel the need to share my own truth of what the information that I know from deep within my being and from my higher guidance system. And I don't expect anyone to, you know, validate or invalidate me. Like, this is my truth, and that's just what it is.
Right. Sorry, I'm getting a attack on my head. So I'm just like using my little crystal to like take it.
Mm.
Sorry, go ahead. Don't mind me, people. See, I'm not scared.
So, where's my crystals? So, yeah, so, you know, like I was saying, like it's taken us time to build up to have this deeper understanding of everything. But as far as entities go, I was in 2019, I was struggling to heal myself from a lifetime of chronic illness and pain, trauma, and narcissistic abuse. And I just kept hitting like a roadblock. And it was like anytime I felt like I was taking a step forward, I was being pulled 2 steps back.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've talked to you about, like I was really struggling with the belief in that there could be negative entities causing that.
Yeah, we weren't there yet. I mean, we weren't mentally there. We were just kind of like learning at that point, like, the easy stuff leading up to the hard stuff, or not realizing that the stuff that we were learning is influenced by the darkness. So it's just kind of like little breadcrumbs here and there and applying it, with like situations in our life, like narcissists or things like that. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and so there's also this belief that has been implanted in the spiritual community by the dark forces that we create what we believe in. So if you believe in entities, then you must be creating that in your reality.
Right.
And so I was really struggling with that. 'Cause I'm like, could I really be creating this? But I just kept having this constant nagging feeling that something was off, you know, and that feeling just wasn't going away no matter how much I tried to ignore it. Like, and I really did try to ignore it. I'm like, I don't want to create this in my world, like I was coming from the belief that everything in our world was good. Everything at the core was good. And that's what led to my own being a victim of narcissistic abuse, because I couldn't believe that someone would not have good intentions. I believed everyone had the same heart that I did. And that just wasn't true at all, not even close.
Hmm.
So that was, it's been a progression, this awakening into understanding and studying the darkness and how it operates and how it works through inversion and manipulation,
Right. And
and
it's multi-layered too.
yeah, yeah. And so I had this nagging feeling that something was off, and I kept trying to ignore it. And then one day, by divine synchronicity, a video by Aurora Quezada showed up on my YouTube feed, right, from Rising Phoenix Aurora. And I was fascinated by the work she was doing, because I had already signed up for VQH. Like I was um, taking the course and everything, but it didn't really talk too much about entities or anything like that. So I was really fascinated with the work she was doing. And I just knew I had to have a session with her. So I did. And it was way more intense than I expected, or probably that I was even ready for at the time. Although we always get what we need, it's taken me really 2 years to be able to process that session.
Hmm.
It just came around again now,
360 just now.
360. Yeah. Um, and it was 2 years ago to this day that I had that session. Um, and it feels really appropriate, speaking about the bifurcation, to talk about that session, because it was like the contrast of those lives that were shown was like the contrast of what we're experiencing now in the polarity from one side to the other, you know? And so, there's another belief that all is from source. All is from source, and so the darkness is also a part of source, and that is true from the perspective of the third density, the organic matrix. That is true, but it doesn't take into account that our universe has been invaded by inorganic entities
Hmm.
that are not from source. So it's not just one or the other, it's like many different truths existing at the same time.
Hmm.
Um, and so in that session, I found myself in Egypt, ancient Egypt, as
Cleopatra.
Cleopatra. Like I looked like a female pharaoh. And my conscious mind was thinking, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Like I just totally made this up. um, yeah, like flowy white clothing. I had like all the gold jewelry on, and I had there was like green and red gemmed dragon heads on my jewelry.
Mm.
And I had a staff with like the dragon head on the staff. And I was just like in the middle of the desert. And
It's
um,
so sorry, it's so detailed, but then you're like, this can't be it.
right, it was. It was it was really detailed. Well, of course, too, this is my first session. So until you experience what that is like, um, you just can't understand what it's like to be in it until you experience it. So this was my first experience, and I learned a lot from it. Uh,
Yeah. And we have that old program too that says that, our imagination is bullshit, right? So
right,
we're not believing that either.
right, right, yeah, yeah. So we fast forward a little bit. I see this like marble like landing. It was like just square landing pad in the middle of the desert. I'm like, this looks like a landing pad or something. And then we fast forward and see this ship coming down onto the landing pad. It was like this old, battered looking
Hunk of
metal.
junk.
Yeah, it was like a hunk of junk. It was like metal, triangular, pyramid shaped ship. And it landed, and the door opened, and out walked three small grays. And I was like, oh my God, what is
Like,
happening?
whoa. What a twist.
What a twist. Yeah. Um, but I was hearing the word harvested,
Mm,
harvested.
mhm.
And I knew deep down that they were harvesting humans somehow. And all I could do, like, I felt it so deeply that I was crying. That's all I could do was cry. And they say that you know what you're experiencing is real in a quantum healing hypnosis session when you experience the emotion of it. That it's kind of proof that you're not making it up or you're not just imagining it, but that when you feel the emotion that deeply, it's coming from deep within you. You know, it's not just
Right.
random. Um, so I was having a really deeply emotional reaction to hearing that. And she's like, okay, well, follow them, see where they're going.
But like, fuck.
Like, okay. uh, so I followed them into a pyramid. And what I saw was these capsules lining the walls on each side, uh, hundreds of capsules lining the walls. And they were clear, like you could see through them. They
Were
were
they
glass.
like long wise or like matrix wise? Like were they like this? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, like the
Lying
like
down.
there were humans inside lying down like this, but like floating in the clear liquid. And
Mm-hmm.
there were like cords and wires to their bodies that were hooked up to this little machine that was next to each one of them. And I didn't see, I knew that there were men, women, and children there, children too.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I only saw one face. And the face I saw was this woman with bright red, long hair. And she was just like laying in the capsule, floating. And her hair was like, you know, billowing out around her. And she was floating in the liquid, and her eyes were wide open. She had these big green eyes. And her hands were like against the glass.
Oh my
And
god.
I knew that was me, but it was really hard to admit that to myself.
Yeah. You're like, where the hell am I now? Like, which one's real? Is it me? Like, or is it that one?
Right. And, you know, just to say at the time, like I had no idea about any of this stuff. I really had no idea. Um,
Yeah. Tina and I just watched The Matrix, or this is the first time she watched The Matrix in a long time, like just the
last
other
night,
day.
right? Or the
Yeah.
night before. Yeah. I had never seen The Matrix before. I've seen like clips of it, of course, you know, just from being in the world, but I've never seen the movie and never saw the full movie. Um, yeah, and I don't watch sci-fi movies. I've never watched really a sci-fi movie in my life, so I wouldn't be able to even pull that from something, you know. Um, no, it was pretty shocking to me to see that. And
Right.
the Greys were there, and they had these like little lab coats on, and they had like their checklist, and they were just like monitoring what was happening in the capsules, and the fluid in the capsules were the machines were monitoring the fluid in the capsules, like the temperature and consistency and chemical makeup and everything. And yeah, so that was that. And later on, we came back and had a more of an understanding of what they were doing, because I was being blocked from a lot of the information. Like, I don't know if I was blocking myself because it was really hard to see, or if something else was blocking it.
Hmm.
But we saw that they were collecting energy from these humans and putting it in this like round ball type thing. And they were just storing it in there. And when they needed some energy, they would just like come up and put their hand on it and receive like a dose of energy. Um, and what I've since learned is that human energy is like the biggest commodity in the inorganic matrix system and maybe even the universe.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So that was really wild. And when she also asked me, like, where did these people come from? How did they get these people? And the information that came through was that they are the people that just go missing.
Wow.
All the people that go missing could end up in something like this. Um, so we went on from that scene. The next scene was I experienced myself like on a grassy hill. Like I can still see all these things. The images are so vivid. It was like on top of this grassy hill, and I was a blue humanoid bird. And it's funny because you see yourself as a humanoid bird sometimes too.
Mm.
And as I was like sleeping last night in between sleep, I'm like, oh my God, maybe these are like future versions of ourselves. Like
Must
maybe when
be.
we go back to Sirius, then we're going to come back as a humanoid bird in the seventh dimension and help protect the earth from the negative ETs.
That sounds like a better job. No,
Yeah.
I like that job. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. So my job was to, in the seventh dimension, protect earth from the invasive negative ETs that were coming in and, trying to keep their harvesting experiments going. So we would like just block out the ships with our energy or whatever we did. And in the next scene, the earth was protected now. Like the earth was protected from the invasive ETs. And let me just see here. I wrote it down. Yeah. So yeah, so then the negative ETs were banished back to where they came from. They weren't allowed in anymore because the vibration on the earth has raised to the point where it's not accepting that kind of behavior. The light is now outweighing the darkness, and the vibration is high enough that it can ward off these negative agendas.
Mm.
Um, and as we fast forwarded in that life as the bluebird, the next scene was this huge celebration. And everyone was so happy and excited. And I felt it so deeply in my being. And I didn't even like know why everybody was so excited at the time. But like I was so emotional, like
You're
just
so late to the party.
yeah, just bawling out of pure joy. And I look and I see the earth from a bird's eye view, from
Hmm.
far out,
Mm.
surrounded in this beautiful white love light energy. And all I could do was cry because everyone was just so ecstatic for this.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. And I said, the earth is free again. It's all light. It's all light.
Hey, maybe that was also associated to your dream of an amusement park where you just saw like everybody as humans, but it was just like all of our gang,
I
you
was
know,
thinking about that too.
relative to that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it was glowing and just so beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen and felt. Like I really felt it so deeply in my being. Um, and I saw that it was a gradual process. It wasn't one single event. You know, everybody talks about this big event. It wasn't one single event. It was a gradual thing. Like the light waves were coming into Earth through the sun and gradually raising the vibration on Earth. And it was happening really slowly because humans can't integrate that amount of light all at once. It would blow up our bodies, you know?
Yeah.
It
Right.
would just explode.
Right.
We can't handle it. The body's too dense to handle it. So as it comes in little bits at a time, it's helping us to slowly move out the density and integrate more and more light, little tiny bits at a time.
And what does that mean exactly?
What does it mean?
The densities that we're moving out
Well, it's the
for our
density.
audience,
Oh, for the audience,
not for
it's
me.
the density that we're moving out is all the lower vibrational emotions that we hold in our bodies. It's the trauma, it's the sadness, it's the anger and hate and grief and fear and all of these things that we've stuffed down inside of us that we're in the process of clearing. So as this light is coming in, it's pushing this up to the surface. This is
Mhm.
why, like, you might be feeling angry for no reason. It's because that deeply stored anger is coming out now to be cleared and let go. So just don't stuff it back down. Just allow it to move through you. Like, it's okay to feel angry. I give you permission to be human, like, and just
But
feel.
that's and that is something that we have to highlight. It's like we're here for the human experience. And it's really nice that we can, anchor that light or the being, that we are within, like the soul in this human body, and grounding it into the earth. Um, but yeah, like we were discussing earlier, it's just like we were trying to come to balance all of that, being human and also being spiritual. Well, but being human is a spiritual experience. But that
Yeah,
doesn't mean that just because you're spiritual that you bypass the human self, the human experience. It's just being able to have both. You can have both, and bringing in that light into the dense body.
right,
The body and the ego are really the ones that are having the spiritual experience,
right.
really. So if you don't integrate those parts, if you deny your body from feeling the whole way, if you deny your ego from, saying that you have to have an ego death or the ego is ruining my life, you have to look at why is your ego ruining your life? Like it's just traumatized. That's what you got to look at. So, I mean, like, there's a lot of things that we don't realize as a collective is what is going to help us to transmute all of those old programs, energies that come from our ancestors, that come from the collective as a whole. There's such a responsibility there that we don't realize that we have to uphold.
That's the word of the day, responsibility. I
Yeah.
love that.
Taking accountability, responsibility, and not being a victim from the outside world anymore. We get to make a choice now. This is what we're teaching our our children, our clients. We have like kid clients, and we're teaching them right away. You have a choice to make. You can make any choice you want now, where you can steer your ship into the direction of honoring yourself, being authentic, not apologizing for it, whatever it is that your heart desires, because this is what you came here to do. you know and from that alone, like, it's so healing, because we have been so generationally shamed for trying to be authentic or trying to express ourselves in the ways that we want, but then we're being groomed or kind of molded into what society wants us to be like, and that's also part of the problem. So now it's like, can we be unapologetically authentic to who, or the expression to which we are meant to be?
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're just like, there's just so much to talk about.
I know there's so much we could talk for, like,
There's just so much to talk
ever.
about.
So Yeah, so we saw that it was a gradual process. And as the light's coming in and helping the body to purge all of these lower vibrational emotions in order to integrate the light, because the point of the human, the point of our ascension is to anchor those vibrational frequencies down into the body,
Mm-hmm.
down into the earth to raise the vibration of the earth. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
And
we
get rid
can't,
of those reptiles that are hiding in the soil.
yeah,
How do we talk about that? Side note.
just did.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, right. And that's what's going to, they can exist under there if we really do raise the vibration on the surface. They're not going to be able to exist under there anymore. Um, and so as the light's coming in and purging the density, it's also upgrading our DNA and changing our frequency from this dense low vibrational frequency into a more crystalline frequency and upgrading the body. Um, so yeah. So, but first, like before we get to that place where the earth is like completely free and humans are completely free, we have to continue to purge. And that's what we're doing now. That's why everything looks so chaotic. It's because what's happening here in the microcosm is also happening out there in the macrocosm.
Mm-hmm.
In the collective, everything is just like being brought up to the surface for us to see. Like all of the darkness that was hidden under the rug or stuffed back in the closet.
Yeah.
It's finally coming out to be seen and healed. Like we can't create a new earth on top of all of this stuff that's been hidden under the rug all this
Right.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you have like the 3D Earth, and then it's like, okay, well, just going to be living right above it, on top of the Band-Aid. Right. And ignoring, thinking that we're going to recreate a better world when we're not even dealing with our shit, our collective stuff. How's that going to work? How are we going to create a new world when we can't even look at the problems?
Right.
It's just like people are trying to teach others about having healthy relationships, but we can't even have a healthy relationship with our own existence and the history behind it.
Right.
Everything's being censored. Can you look at the history, the hard history, and seeing like the tragedy, the real, psychology behind it all of it?
But I do feel like there are so many people that are like really yearning for this knowledge, that are really do want to learn. Some people are really ready for it. Like I'm tired of even like, when you hear some channelings, they're like, oh, well, we can't give you that information yet. I'm like,
Fuck you.
why not? Like, we need to hear the truth. How are we supposed to heal or do anything if we don't know
Right.
the truth?
Maybe
Um,
they don't even know themselves.
True.
Maybe they don't even know themselves. And it's just like trying to uphold that, like, well, I can't tell you now because I don't know. We don't know. We have no idea where this can go. I mean, there's so many possibilities where this can go. And even though Tina saw it like as the bluebird, the bird's eye view of it, we don't know when that is exactly on a linear timeline. We have no fucking idea.
Right. And I really don't feel like that's going to happen in our lifetime. I really don't feel that.
No, we're so far from it. It's like we're
Just
still
think,
in a place.
right, and think about the majority of people. They have the majority of people have no idea that they are enslaved.
No, they think they're in control by saying yes to this vaccine, let's say, for example. Or like, yes, I'm going to take our life back and come back to the normal by doing the things that the government's telling us to do. Not even questioning the government at all and their choices and what like how they're obviously enslaving,
Mhm.
and saying it's for our safety and for the protection of others by this virus that only comes out after certain hours or certain circumstances and situations.
Yeah.
It's like people don't can't even wrap their head around the idea that, like, does that not make sense to you?
Well,
Because
they
like,
can't, what
go
I
ahead.
think what they can't wrap their head around is like that it could be a global conspiracy.
Right,
They're
because
like,
then
really,
they're
everybody's in on it, you know?
yeah, no, right. No, I get that. That's like a deep I can see how that can be really shocking where it's like a huge April Fool's joke on everybody and that they were fooled for X amount of time. It's just like you have that idea, like, the idea of what a successful journey in life is supposed to be like, where you're a law abiding citizen who goes the path and gets married and does your thing and you pay taxes that you shouldn't even be paying. You make a wage and and you go into debt and you pay back more interest on these debts and you kill yourself working hard until you die. Like, that's life, right? you know? And this is what people are living. They're just like, okay, so they go with their day-to-day shit
Mhm,
without even realizing or questioning that there's something else outside of that narrative.
mhm.
That's the thing. That's enslavement. When
Yeah,
you can't even think outside of that.
right. And we can't, and this is what I'm sharing today of why we can't think outside of that. And I'm gonna tell you that in a minute.
Well, we should wrap this up and make that into video too.
Okay.
Because I think like this is a really good
Cliffhanger.
starter. It's a good starter and a cliffhanger because it's like if you really want to commit, then you're gonna go to video two. And you're gonna like and subscribe and comment down below. And yeah, there's just so much that we have to talk about. I think this is gonna be like a multiple video type of like chapter show.
Chapter one.
And chapter one, like this is chapter one, like just the basics of things and just understanding the darkness. Can you love the darkness as much as you love the light? Stay tuned for the next episode.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We love you so much.
Costume change.
See you for chapter two.
Chapter two.
Bye.
Bye.